Hi friends, it's Morgan with Compass Rose Astrology, and today we're going to be going through another Celestial Sunday where we talk through all of the planetary transits that are happening this week and kind of what we can expect in terms of kind of an archetypal, symbolic expression, because these planets can often these transits can often show up in different ways in our lives. Sometimes it can be very internal, kind of things that we're processing, experiencing and thinking. And sometimes it could be really external. It could be like how other people are acting towards us. It could be some things that we see. It doesn't have to always be directly happening to us, but it could just be things that we might be experiencing. So I'm going to talk about the different kind of symbols and just kind of overall feelings that you might be having that could be related to either internal or external things happening in your life. So sit back, grab a drink or something, because it'll be a fun kind of talk about what we are getting up to this week. Right, starting off kind of like with a bang, we have today on the 22nd, we have Venus and Saturn coming into a conjunction in Aquarius. And when Venus and Saturn kind of come together under Saturn's sign of Aquarius, because Saturn rules the sign of Aquarius, there is definitely this air of kind of passiveness, sobriety, and just overall longevity here. So just like the long game, playing the long game here is kind of how I feel. And Venus and Saturn, those two archetypes, they relate to others in two very different ways, but they do relate to others. Saturn itself kind of symbolizes the feeling of isolation. It could be loneliness and otherness. So in how it relates to other, like this feeling of other people, it just kind of has this separation from others, you know? It's not really a feeling connected. It's feeling really distant. Could be emotionally distant, but also physically distant, or just feeling completely cut off by people. And Venus is the planet of relating to others. It's a very relational kind of a planet, and it symbolizes kind of connection and passion and loyalty, service, and devotion. So with these two very different yet similarly topicked planets, just in relating to other in some way or the other, like how do those even blend? Because they're coming together, it's a conjunction. The symbolism of both of the planets are coming together and intermingling. So how do you have the other with with being isolated, right? So I have 3 themes that I think you should look for this week, because this is the primary energy that starts off our week. We do have a lot happening with the sun throughout the week, so I think there's going to be this kind of emphasis both on this Venus and Saturn conjunction and how it relates to your kind of mind and spirituality. So if you have a spiritual path, I think that might this might be affecting that a little bit, this Venus and Saturn conjunction. If you don't, it could just be affecting how you feel in the spotlight of people, of the sphere of people around you, like how you feel they relate to you or how you relate to them. So anyway, the 3 themes that I think that you should be looking for is 1, obviously this feeling of disconnection. And you might feel like this, like there's might be like kind of a lull in a relationship if you're in one, or it could be a lull in like a friendship or connection to people that you work with, or just feeling a little disconnected from your community. And there is still a connection there. Like, you know, these are the people in your sphere that you aren't going to leave behind or anything, but there is just this feeling of having a lull, because every relationship has its ups and downs. And Saturn is definitely the teacher of that lesson, that sometimes you have to go through a rough patch or a lull, or just, you know, not having that overall like intoxicating feeling of being so completely head over heels in love, or really feeling like, yeah, this person really gets me, or yeah, like I can't believe I finally found my tribe. just any sort of situation of anybody that you relate to. This is really a sense of just going through kind of one of those lower, like less exciting, less eventful points in your relationship. It just could be this sort of like mundane, unexciting point, but your relationship is still being maintained and it still is there for you. Perhaps you're just kind of realizing that you need to go with the flow a little bit more, that sometimes there are moments that things won't be as exciting as they once were. Or even like in the kind of an extreme here, it could be that you're realizing that maybe something's just not giving you what you thought it was giving you. For example, like maybe you're just realizing that maybe you don't have the emotional support that you thought you were getting from this group of people or from this person. And so there comes a point when you kind of have to have that hard looking at the truth, you know? So that could be something that you might be experiencing this week. The second thing that you might be experiencing, you might be looking at other relationships, like other more kind of established relationships, for advice on how to move forward with your own. And Saturn here can usually represent the more like adult, mature figures in a person's life. And they also tend to help guide you, these sorts of figures. So it indicates that you kind of could be looking for advice or examples of another relationship and seeing that relationship and how you want to make decisions within your own relationships. And this could, you know, really lead to a happier, more fruitful union, like this other relationship or guide or person that you're kind of looking to for advice or guidance. And also along the same vein, Saturn might have you asking some questions like, do I feel like this is an even exchange of a good give and take of a relationship? And like when I say relationship, it really could be anything with another person, you know? It doesn't have to be romantic. It could also be like a boss. It could be, I don't know, someone within your family that you just are really analyzing and you're like, does this make me feel secure? Is this the sort of foundation that I need? Is this the sort of give and take that I need as well? And the third theme that I think you should be looking for is this idea of financial or social kind of constraints. And when I say that, I mean along the lines of like maybe you and you know, everything about Venus really does relate to the other person. So you could be thinking about how you're trying to both save money, or maybe you're trying to save money within your friend group, you know. Maybe you're trying to figure out what you need to spend your time and money on instead of doing everything. So maybe you're trying to find this balance. Maybe you're trying to figure out if you can give to a charity for your church or something, or if you can give time for this volunteer shift that you've been working with, and you're trying to figure out how you can still give to them but also still give to yourself as well. And this honestly isn't the most fun transit, but it really does come out with some really long learned like lessons and experiences so that you can kind of make the best of something and see something through to the end and really have a strong kind of relation with the people around you. Then on the 23rd, we have Uranus stationing direct finally in Taurus, and at the same time it is also squaring the moon, which is in Gemini. And having Uranus square the moon in Gemini right as it's stationing direct is actually really, really powerful. We have this really strong feeling of kind of a loosening of the bonds, and Uranus archetypes and the symbolism around Uranus always relates to like freedom, it's independence, it's awakenings, it's spirituality, it's your pilgrimages that you go on, those sorts of kind of like freeing themes that awaken you to like a higher purpose and loftier goals. when it's square to the moon, you might have this feeling of like being inspired to get in touch with like your inner feminine. It doesn't matter how you identify, what gender you are, but really getting in touch with that kind of more feminine side or more feminine kind of qualities and feelings. And especially because the moon is the archetype of the woman, and it's a very feminine planet. So you might be feeling like very proud of your kind of your femininity. You might be really proud of something vulnerable, honestly, that you had to do and stand up for, or kind of like expose, and you're feeling proud about it instead of feeling like ashamed or kind of guilty or just a little scared, which sometimes can happen after being vulnerable. But this transit really gives you the courage to stand up for that side of you and for those things within you. And there's this kind of feeling of inner vitality and connection to your emotions on this day too. So if you're feeling something really strongly, don't be afraid to feel it. A lot of people don't like to sit in their feelings, but Uranus and the moon is really giving you that strength to just kind of sit in it and be in it. On the 24th, we have the Sun in Aquarius, sextiling Jupiter in Aries. And this is happening as Mercury in Capricorn is also moving back into the trine with Uranus, which has been happening all month. And I'll talk about it a little bit more later because it does actually end up trining. They make that trine aspect together at the end of the month. But with the Sun sextiling Jupiter, and just as Mercury is moving into this trine with Uranus, there's this feeling of like really great optimism. I really love this week. There's a lot of like good kind of feelings happening that you could be experiencing. But anyway, there's this like really great optimism and kind of excitement happening in this transit. And you might be feeling like a touch of luck in whatever you do, or feeling like whatever you touch turns to gold. Like that story about Midas, but like the good part where he, whatever he touches turns to gold, and it actually ends up like working out for him. Having a sextile and a trine between these planets indicates really, really strong, good communication for you that could lead to something really exciting. And it's more like a flow of communication. Like you're not thinking too hard about it. It just kind of happens. And it could even be like just something happening coming towards you that really supplies you with that like poof, like exciting experience or opportunity, honestly. Then on the 27th, we have Venus moving into Pisces, which is so exciting. I'm so happy for this placement. It's such a good placement. So Pisces is where Venus is exalted. And so Pisces is where Venus is exalted. And this means that there is a lot of power and kind of support behind these archetypes and the symbolism that the planet Venus naturally signifies. These are things like love and beauty and compassion and desire and commitment and like empathy and support. And Pisces is a sign that really naturally tends to express itself and what it loves as well. It's a very like vulnerable and sensitive sign in the zodiac, and coupling this awesome placement with the fact that Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, and both Jupiter and Venus are benefics. They are the two benefics in the solar system, and they're the most kind of, putting that into perspective, that means that they have the most support and power to do good and to be beneficial, to be really supportive and helpful to you and what you want in your life. And Pisces has a lot of like happiness and contentment when Venus kind of drops in. And Venus will be in Pisces until February 19th. So really live it up and kind of like lean into these moments where you experience a little more compassion and maybe a little more empathy and like gentleness in how you do things. And patience and support and kind of like this feeling of love, that's all in the air during this transit. and it will show up in our lives with a little more strength and a little more oomph than usual. On the 28th, we have the Sun in Aquarius, and it's moving into a trine with Mars in Gemini. And really, what this makes me think of is that the Sun is just lighting everybody up this week. It's got a lot of really fun transits, and like with good aspects is kind of what I mean. Like having a trine is a really positive, good aspect. It means that like in the sky, the two planets are 120 degrees away from each other, so they see each other well, they're lighting each other up, there's a lot of like harmony here, and the Sun trining with Mars kind of instigates this feeling of defense and action, and it's more of like coming from a feeling of internal righteousness. So you might feel like you have to like defend yourself or stand up for yourself, but it will come so naturally to you this week, or even on this day, that when these transits happen, you won't feel like you're offending anyone, and you won't feel bad for saying what you really want to say. It's really going to come like right off the tongue. It's going to be there for you. The universe is kind of supporting you as you stand up for you, or what you're working on, or what you're working for, or what you believe in. And it's just gonna like feel right, so that you know that you did the right thing, and that's really all that there is to it in this. And there's this like fighting spirit here that's going to guide you and allows you the space to say and do the things that you need to do. And last but not least, on the 29th, Mercury is making that trine with Uranus. So between Capricorn and Taurus, we have that trine happening again. It's been happening since the beginning of this month. I swear this is the transit of the month. It's been happening all month. And with Mercury moving retrograde, Mercury has hit the same spot, 14 degrees in Gemini, right? Yeah, Capricorn, sorry. I was thinking Mars and Gemini, but Mercury's in Cap. It's hitting this 14-degree mark. Like, this is the third time, and everything that you've been feeling this month hopefully comes to close here. Like, that's really what the transit is saying that it will. I honestly do think that these experiences that you've been having this month around Mercury and Uranus, it's going to happen again. You'll see these themes happen when Mercury moves into a square with Uranus, and then it's gonna, they conjunct, I think that's gonna be the end of the story for what's happening here. But as we said, there's this kind of sense of transition. You've probably been going through it all month, and now you're finally being able to identify this transition, this change. So Uranus is finally direct, Mercury is finally direct. Everything that you've been wanting to kind of undo is now being cast under this really enthusiastic, sort of stimulating light, instead of when the planets were retrograde. You probably felt like you were walking through mud to get this transition going, or you like couldn't see the end goal, or like things just kept happening where you're like, I can't move forward. It's like 2 steps forward, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back, right? So now you finally have this like air of enthusiasm and really stimulation to kind of keep you going. So you're bringing these new thoughts, these original ideas, this new vision that you have into life, and it stems from this place of like freedom and independence. So it's really like getting that fire going to light up your desire to be independent. And whatever thoughts you had, honestly, they could be kind of a risk, because Uranus is really the symbol of laying the status quo to rest and not really following the path more traveled, you know? And sometimes that can lead this like frantic kind of or unconventional approach to whatever it is that you're doing, but it's really just born from the sense of kind of originality and uniqueness. And just to kind of give you some examples, you could be like trying to implement new like, it could be anything, like from the really mundane to something completely life-changing, you know? Really depends on how strong Mercury and Uranus are in your chart. So if you're like a Mercury ruled sign like Gemini or Virgo, if you have anything like that, or stelliums in either of those signs, I would say that this might be affecting you even more than others. So it could be something as small as like you're trying to incorporate new like foods and new dinners from different cultures that you would never have tried, or maybe that your partner or your family never would try before, and it's actually working out. Like maybe during the retrogrades, like people were complaining, but then now they're actually asking you to make that incredible pasta dish when you don't usually make pastas or something like that. And it could also be something like you changed your whole workout routine. None of your friends do this new workout. Like maybe you're actually trying CrossFit or something, and none of your friends do that. Like maybe they're super into Pilates or something, and you're just trying something new, and you know, maybe you're getting them interested in it as well. And you could even have fallen into like a new hobby that you really want to turn into a career all of a sudden. Like that could be what you're doing as well. So I think that you're gonna see these themes again once Mercury, like I said, makes a square to Uranus, and once it goes conjunct with Uranus. But this is basically going to be coming to kind of more of a fruition point at the end of the week, because it's making that last and final trine, which is a good angle. It's a really good angle. So make sure you make the best of it. And with all that sun energy too, like allow that to boost you up. Like you got this, and have a really fun time with it, I think. So let me know if you have any like fun stories, or if any of these transits are actually showing up in your life, because it would be super interesting to hear. And I can even share some of my stories too, if that would help kind of conceptualize things. But yeah, just let me know what would be interesting to you guys, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Bye.